I walked into the kitchen and heard my family laughing over trip photos. That beach house was so peaceful without chaos, my mom said. I wasn't in a single picture. But I had paid the security deposit. I said nothing. Just started canceling the cards they forgot were in my name and announced next. I had barely dropped my bags in the guest room when I heard the laughter from the kitchen. That kind of laughter that doesn't stop quickly, the kind that winds up again and again like it's been earned, like something hilarious just happened and they all deserved it. I stood in the hallway for a second and listened. They hadn't heard me come in. That already told me something. I wasn't even supposed to be here yet. I'd moved my flight up by a day because the tickets were cheaper and I figured they'd be happy to see me earlier. I hadn't told anyone, wanted it to be a surprise. But apparently the surprise was on me. The kitchen smelled like coffee and something sweet like cake, which was already strange. No one baked around here unless there was a special occasion. They were crowded around the table, all four of them, faces lit up from a screen. I stepped closer. My brother, my sister-in-law, my mom, and even Eric, who hadn't answered a single group chat in months. All sitting there like one big happy family. My mom laughed and said it like it was some joke they'd all agreed on already. That beach house was so peaceful without chaos. My brother added something about how it was the first time he'd slept past 8 a.m. on a trip in years. My sister-in-law said something about no one having a meltdown over sunscreen or groceries. It was weirdly specific. Then I saw the photos. They were passing around an iPad, swiping through pictures of a beach house trip I had never been invited to. Sand, wine glasses, sunsets. My mom in a floppy sun hat. My brother on the porch holding a fishing rod. Eric in a grill. Laughing, smiling, making memories. They'd gone to the beach for a week. All of them. Together. Not one photo of me. Not one mention of me. But I recognized the house. It was the one I'd paid the deposit for 6 months ago when Mom mentioned, maybe doing something, if they could afford it. I put the money down because she said she wasn't sure if everyone would be able to contribute, but they deserved something nice after a hard year. Apparently they took that to mean, go without me and don't say a word. I didn't say anything. Just turned around, went back to the guest room and sat down with my laptop. I logged into the accounts I knew they forgot I controlled. The ones I'd set up back when things were tough. The electricity bill in my name. The internet. The trash service. The insurance on their used but functioning car. And 3 credit cards. All still active, all still linked to my email. All paid off regularly by me without a thank you. I canceled the first card. Then the second. The third I left open. For now. Then I opened the banking app and flagged the recurring payments for the household bills. Canceled autopay. If they wanted peace without chaos, they could pay for it themselves now. I walked back into the kitchen like I hadn't just rearranged their lives. Poured a glass of water and leaned against the counter. They looked up like they'd just noticed me. My mom blinked. Said something like, "Oh, you're early." I said, "Yeah, I thought I'd start my visit a little sooner this year." Told them I'd be here all week. Then I added that I'd be making a few updates while I was in town. They all kind of paused, trying to figure out what that meant. I just smiled and said, "I'll announce it tomorrow." The next morning I came downstairs before anyone else, sat in the living room with a coffee and waited. I didn't offer to make breakfast. I didn't unload the dishwasher like I normally would. I didn't even say good morning when Eric walked in and did that half-head nod thing he always does like he's too cool to say hi properly. It took a while for everyone to gather. My brother wandered in next, yawning, asking if there was any more of the cinnamon cake left. My sister-in-law followed a few minutes later, in one of those matching pajama sets she posts in like she's in a catalog. My mom came down last, holding her phone and humming to herself like nothing was off. Once they all sat down, I told them I had a few updates to share. No one really reacted. They were half distracted, Eric flipping through channels, my brother on his phone, my mom already stirring her coffee. They didn't expect much from me. That had been the pattern for years. I helped, I covered, I smoothed things over, I shut up about it. But this time I cleared my throat and just said it plainly. I told them I'd canceled 2 of the credit cards they'd been using. The ones I opened years ago when things were tight, when my mom's hours got cut and Eric had a broken wrist and nobody could cover anything on time. I'd paid them off more times than I could count. They weren't even in their names. Heads turned slowly. Then I told them I was also transferring the utility bills out of my name. Water, electric, gas, internet, car insurance. Everything. All of it. I'd already submitted the paperwork. The companies would be contacting them directly within the next week. They could either take over or let things get shut off. Up to them. You would have thought I said I was selling the house out from under them. My brother sat up straight, asking what I was talking about. My mom blinked like I was speaking another language. My sister-in-law just stared. I said it again. I was done covering for a family that had no problem leaving me out of a trip I paid for. I told them I saw the photos. The ones from the beach house I'd reserved with my card. The one they all somehow had time to go enjoy while telling me they weren't sure if they'd do anything this year. My mom tried to say it wasn't intentional, that they thought I wouldn't want to come, that it was kind of last minute, that I seemed busy, that they didn't think I'd care. I reminded her that she asked me to cover the deposit, and I did, without asking for it back. And no one even sent me a single photo. Not one text. Not even a heads up. Eric tried to shrug it off like it wasn't a big deal. Said something about how everyone just needed a break. I said that was fine. But if they needed a break from me, they could take one fully. That included the money. I told them I wasn't angry. I was clear. I'd keep my distance. I was still in town for the week to wrap up a few personal errands, but I wouldn't be playing the same role anymore. No budgeting help. No calling the cable company. No sending money for random emergencies. I was out. The silence in the room was complete. Then my mom asked if we could just talk about this later. I told her there was nothing else to talk about. The decisions were made. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was adjusting based on new information. I stood up and went to my room. 15 minutes later, I could hear her on the phone with the electric company. She didn't know how to set up a new account. Didn't know what documents they needed. She kept saying my daughter always handled this. That was true. I always had. Not anymore. Later that day, she tried to casually mention that maybe I could still help just this once with the transition. I said no. I said I'd written out everything they needed and left a folder in the kitchen. They could figure it out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't ask them why they left me out. I didn't need to. They were all realizing one by one what it felt like to be on the outside. And the week was just getting started. By the time the third day rolled around, I knew exactly how this was going to go. The silence, the guilt-tripping, the performance of confusion and helplessness. It was a routine I'd seen before. But it used to work because I used to care more about keeping the peace than holding them accountable. That part of me was gone now. Whatever version of Evelyn they remembered, she didn't come with me this time. I got up early again, not because I needed to, but because I wanted the quiet. I sat on the porch with my coffee and watched the street. There was something peaceful about being surrounded by people who were just now realizing I wasn't going to fix their messes anymore. When I came back inside around 9, the house felt different. There were papers everywhere. Piles on the kitchen table, on the counter, even on one of the dining chairs. My mom had torn through every drawer in the hallway looking for passwords, account numbers, login info. She had printed emails spread out next to her phone, which was on speaker with some poor customer service rep trying to walk her through how to change the name on a utilities account. It had taken less than 48 hours for them to panic. I walked past them and went to get a glass of water. My brother was on the couch texting furiously. I caught a glimpse of a message saying something like, "She's not joking, she's actually done." My sister-in-law hovered awkwardly near the table, trying to act like she was helping my mom but clearly uncomfortable being that close to the chaos. Eric wasn't even around. Probably off somewhere pretending this whole thing had nothing to do with him. My mom looked up and asked if I could just sit with her for 5 minutes and help her figure out the electric bill. Said the site kept logging her out. Said she couldn't remember if she'd ever even set up her own account before. She looked exhausted. I told her I'd written down step-by-step instructions, and they were in the folder I left on the counter the day before. She said she found the folder but didn't understand half of what was in it. That's when the edge came into her voice. She said it was cruel the way I was doing this. That it felt like I'd planned this whole thing. That I'd come back just to throw everything in their faces. I said no, I came back to visit. I came back expecting to see the people I thought cared about me. Instead, I walked into a room full of laughter over a vacation I wasn't even invited to, despite paying for it. I reminded her again that I covered the security deposit. And not once, did anyone even bother to tell me they were going. My brother finally spoke up, saying maybe it was a communication breakdown. That maybe everyone just assumed someone else had told me. That they didn't mean to hurt me, they just wanted a relaxing trip. I told him I was glad it was relaxing. Must be nice to relax on someone else's dime. That's when my mom said her heart was acting up. That she hadn't been able to sleep, that she'd been so anxious she could hardly eat, that all this was making her sick. She said she couldn't believe her own daughter would put her through this. I looked at her and said I didn't put her through anything. I simply stopped shielding her from reality. The internet account had been in my name since 2017. I set it up when they couldn't pass the credit check. I'd been paying it ever since. Same with the car insurance. Same with the electric. Same with the temporary credit cards. All those years of giving. Not loans, not favors, just giving. And they couldn't even be bothered to send me a single photo from the trip I paid for. They hadn't just forgotten me. They'd excluded me. They'd decided I was the one person it was safe to cut out. Because I'd always been the one who'd never push back. Till now. The rest of the day was strange. Everyone started whispering. The TV was on but no one watched it. My sister-in-law left to go see a friend, and didn't come back until after midnight. Eric showed up briefly, stayed for 5 minutes, then left again. My brother tried to hover near me like he wanted to apologize but couldn't bring himself to say the words. My mom stayed in her room. Claimed she needed to lie down. Said her chest still felt tight. I went about my day. I had appointments to get to, an accountant to meet, paperwork to finalize, a property management company to visit about a small condo I'd been considering renting out. I didn't tell them any of this. When I came back that evening, no one said a word. I microwaved my own dinner, ate at the table while they scattered around the living room pretending not to notice. No one asked how my day was. No one even asked where I'd been. That was fine. They were finally living in the silence they had handed me. By the 4th day, the energy in the house was unstable. It wasn't just tension anymore. It was something closer to panic. You could feel it in the way they moved around each other, like everyone was afraid to say the wrong thing. No more laughter. No more inside jokes. No more beach trip photos. That morning, I woke up to the sound of my mom sobbing in the bathroom. Loud, theatrical sobbing. I didn't check on her. I figured if she needed help setting up autopay, she could email the company like the rest of us. When I went downstairs, the kitchen was a wreck. Dishes from the night before, trash not taken out, nothing cooked. They were unraveling faster than I thought they would. I didn't say anything. I just made toast and sat at the table. That's when Eric stormed in, slamming the door behind him. He went straight for the fridge, yanked it open, then slammed it shut again. He looked right at me and said, "Is this funny to you?" I didn't answer. He said he just had his debit card declined at a gas station. Turns out the third card, the one I hadn't canceled yet, just got frozen for suspicious activity. I'd forgotten about it, honestly. It had been linked to one of my old business accounts. When I updated my banking security the night before, the system auto-flagged it and shut it down. Apparently he'd been using it to buy groceries and gas, just until his hours picked up again. I hadn't even known. He lost it. Said I was trying to ruin him. Said I didn't understand what it was like to be barely getting by. That I had no right to just pull the plug without warning. I told him the warning was delivered 3 days ago. They just didn't take it seriously. He cursed under his breath, grabbed his keys and left again. My brother followed him out. My mom came down a few minutes later looking like she'd aged 5 years overnight. She sat down at the table across from me and asked if I would reconsider. Just temporarily. Just until they could sort things out. I said no. Then she said something that stopped me cold. She said if I kept doing this, she'd have to call my aunt and explain everything. And she knew how fast things spread in this family. I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her. She was trying to threaten me. Subtly. The woman who had cried the day before about her chest pain and how sick she was feeling was now threatening to smear me to relatives I barely talked to. And here's where the unexpected part happened. I laughed. It slipped out. I laughed, not loudly, not mockingly, but with a kind of quiet disbelief. Because in that moment, I realized exactly how far they'd go to avoid accountability. They weren't sorry. They were scrambling. I told her she could tell anyone she wanted. I'd be happy to post the bank receipts and email threads, the payment confirmations, the screenshots of every bill I'd covered. I kept everything. She didn't say anything. Just looked at me like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. That afternoon, I left the house to get some air and walked to a nearby cafe. Sat there for a while just watching people. Thinking about how strange it was that I used to feel guilty for setting boundaries. How I used to wonder if I was being too cold or too harsh. And now here I was, watching the people who once drained me scramble like toddlers after the training wheels came off. When I got back, there was a letter taped to my bedroom door. It was handwritten. From my mom. 2 pages long. The first page was emotional. A recap of everything she'd done for me growing up, all the sacrifices she'd made, how hard things were after my dad left, how she did her best. The second page was a list of what she said were reasons why this punishment is disproportionate. I folded it up and dropped it in the trash without reading the rest. Because I wasn't punishing her. I was just done pretending they didn't know what they were doing. And I still had 2 days left. By day 5, something had cracked and nothing was holding anymore. The polite silences were gone. The tension had shifted into something louder, more desperate. It wasn't just discomfort now, it was collapse. I left the house early again. No breakfast, no small talk. I had a meeting scheduled with a lawyer downtown, a woman I'd been emailing back and forth with for months. We were finalizing paperwork for a condo I owned outright, a quiet little place they didn't even know existed. I'd renovated it myself over weekends and late nights, using bonuses and side income they never asked about because they never thought to. It was mine and I was turning it into a rental. I hadn't planned on sharing that detail, but by then I knew I never would. I got back around noon. The door was unlocked, which already told me something was off. The second I stepped inside, I heard it. Yelling. Not the usual raised voices that passed for conversations in this house. This was different. My brother and my mom were screaming at each other. Full volume, red-faced, wild kind of screaming. I stood in the hallway listening to it all unfold without moving. He was shouting that she'd lied. That she made it sound like everything was fine, that she'd hidden how bad things really were. She was shouting back that he never asked, that he was too busy with his wife, with his job, with his own little world. That she'd only ever had me to rely on. She said it 3 times. Only Evelyn. She said she didn't know how to live without me holding everything together. I guess she thought that was going to land as a compliment. But it didn't. Not anymore. When I stepped into the kitchen, they both froze. My mom's eyes went to me instantly, and I could see the shift, from rage to something else. Something rehearsed. She blinked, clutched her chest, and said the words like she was reading them off a script. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" And then it began. She slumped into the kitchen chair and started sobbing. But not the fake kind from before. Or maybe it was fake, just louder this time. She gasped about how she couldn't breathe, how her heart was pounding, how she might pass out, how the stress was too much. She looked up at me and said I was killing her. That I was breaking the family. That I'd ruined everything. My brother didn't move. My sister-in-law, who'd come in halfway through the fight, looked like she was about to cry just from the noise. Eric wasn't even home. No one knew what to do. Except me. I stood there and didn't flinch. Because it wasn't real. Or maybe it was, maybe some part of her really did feel sick. But the timing wasn't a coincidence. The collapse, the heart clutching, the sudden accusation. It wasn't grief. It was punishment. And I wasn't playing the role anymore. I walked past them, over the broken pieces of whatever had shattered on the floor, and went into the living room. I turned the TV on. Something mindless. A cooking show, I think. I turned up the volume until it drowned out the quiet sobs echoing from the kitchen. I didn't ask if she was okay. I didn't ask if they needed help. I didn't ask for anything. Because I already knew what they'd do if I gave them even 1 inch back. Later that evening, I heard the door slam. Eric came home and went straight to his room. My brother and his wife were in theirs, talking in low voices. The house felt small, like it had shrunk under the weight of everything no one was saying. When I went to brush my teeth, I noticed something. My mom's door was cracked open just a bit. Enough for me to see she was awake, lying on her side, facing the wall. She knew I saw her. But she didn't say anything. And neither did I. Because by then my bag was already packed. My flight was early. And there was nothing left to fix. I didn't wait for sunrise. At 5:12 a.m. I zipped up my suitcase, double-checked the guest room for anything I might have missed, and carried everything quietly down the hallway. The floor creaked like it always had near the stairs, but no doors opened. Either they were asleep or doing what they'd all been doing for the past few days, pretending they couldn't hear what was right in front of them. The same could have been said for most of our lives. When I stepped outside, the sky was still dark. Barely a sliver of light on the horizon. The porch light was out. It had gone dead sometime last winter, and I was the one who replaced the bulb. Twice. I didn't bother this time. The car I booked was already parked at the curb. I gave the driver a quick nod and started loading my own luggage into the trunk. The door behind me didn't open. I didn't expect it to. There were no goodbyes, no last-minute apologies, no teary confessions from the woman who said she couldn't breathe 2 days ago. Just silence. Like the whole house had gone into some kind of emotional lockdown, and no one had the code to get out. We pulled away and I didn't look back. The ride to the airport was quiet. I watched the streetlights flicker past and thought about all the years I came back here, hoping it would feel like home again. All the flights booked around their schedules. All the things I canceled so I could show up and help. All the birthdays I paid for, all the loans that were never repaid, all the times I said yes even when it meant giving up pieces of my own life. And they left me out of a vacation I paid for. I opened my phone. 3 unread texts. 1 from my brother, 1 from Eric, and 1 from my mom. I didn't open hers. I didn't need to. My brother said, "Hey, are you gone already?" Eric said, "You really weren't bluffing, huh?" And hers. The preview was enough. "I still can't believe you're doing this over one mistake." I powered the phone off and dropped it into my bag. At the airport, I moved like someone who knew exactly what they were doing. No delays. No hesitation. I didn't feel shaky or unsure. I didn't feel guilty. I felt like I had finally walked away from something that had been pulling me under for years. Back in my own city, the air was dry and cold but clean. I stepped into my apartment and stood there for a long moment. No noise. No drama. No one waiting to ask for help with a bill or a password or a favor. Just me. There were plants on the windowsill I'd forgotten to water. One had died completely. The other was bent sideways, stubbornly still alive. I watered it and opened the window. That afternoon my phone buzzed again. I didn't answer. I let it sit. Around 8 p.m. I got a voicemail from my mom. Her voice was tight, rehearsed. She said she hoped I was home safe. Then she said the sentence I knew was coming. I don't think we can move past this if you're not willing to come home for Christmas. That was always the final card. Christmas. I sat with it for a while, then replied with one line. If this is how your family acts when I visit, I won't be coming back for the holidays. I turned my phone face down and left it that way for the rest of the night. That was 16 days ago. Since then, no calls. No texts. Just a shared silence I didn't break for once. And the truth? Feels like the first quiet that actually belongs to me. The final update. 6 weeks passed. I stopped counting after the first month. Winter came in full, cold mornings, frozen sidewalks, the kind of quiet that settles deep into everything. I'd found my rhythm again. I was working more, sleeping better, saying no without rehearsing it in my head. My apartment felt like mine again. My life did too. Christmas came and went without a single call. I made dinner for one, bought a gift for myself, and lit a candle just because I felt like it. No guilt. No explaining to anyone why I wasn't home. Because I was home, and for once I didn't feel the need to prove it to anyone. I really thought that was the end. That silence would be the last word. Then the letter showed up. It was just after New Year's, stuffed between flyers and credit card offers in my mailbox. No return address, but I knew the handwriting instantly. My mom still wrote like someone who took penmanship classes seriously in the 80s. My name on the envelope underlined once. Inside one page. No dramatic opening. No, "Dear Evelyn." No closing signature. Just her. She said she hadn't meant to do what she did. Not in the way it landed. She admitted that yes, she told the others not to mention the trip. That she convinced herself I'd be too busy anyway. That leaving me out was easier than having the conversation about why they wanted a vacation without me. She said she hadn't realized how much I'd been holding until it was gone. She listed things she never acknowledged before. The utilities. The cards. The money. The way I never asked for praise, but they acted like that meant I didn't deserve it. She said she didn't recognize what it looked like, how it all added up, until she had to sit on the phone with a customer service rep for 3 hours just to get the electricity turned back on. She wrote, "I didn't know how much you'd done until you were gone. I didn't know how quiet the house could feel until it was filled with the weight of our own voices." Then just one sentence near the end. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I see it now." That was all. No demands. No invitations. No instructions. Just the first honest thing I'd heard from her in years. I sat with the letter for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. But still, like something had clicked into place that had been loose for a long time. I haven't written back. I don't know if I will. But I didn't throw the letter away. It sits in a drawer by my bed now, folded neatly. Not because I plan to reread it, but because I want to remember what it felt like to finally be seen. Not applauded, not begged, not guilt, just seen. That's how it ended. Not with reconciliation. Not with some picture-perfect hug in a doorway. Just truth. Finally spoken. After years of silence dressed up as love. And that, more than anything, gave me closure. Not perfect, but mine.